You have to move to South Florida. It's the place to be. Don't move to South Florida. No one wants to be there. What do you mean don't move to South Florida? That makes no sense. Let me tell you about it. Let me tell you why you don't need to live here in South Florida. And obviously, moving to Florida is something that everyone wants to do. Well, at least it seems like it. According to the Census Bureau, in 2022, more than 1 million people actually moved to Florida in general. And you're probably wondering, well, why in the world are they moving to Florida? Well, there's a couple different reasons, and obviously this isn't the video for that, but some of those reasons are things like taxes, quality of life, the weather, the sunshine, being out on the water, just a couple different things. And there are a ton of positives. However, like anything else, there are some negatives that come with living in Florida, especially South Florida in general. But when we look at it, a lot of people that are moving to Florida, you'll be kind of surprised by the major states that they're leaving. So the top 5 that people are actually leaving to move to Florida in general are Texas, Georgia, New Jersey, California, and even New York. And when you get down here in South Florida and you kind of look around and realize most of it is people from New York. However, there's a lot of similarities between Miami and New York, so you can kind of see it. But let's kind of talk about now, what are the reasons that you shouldn't move to South Florida? And honestly, some of these reasons you might kind of obviously think about, but there's a couple also that no one even talks about, and it really slips your mind. And then when you think about it, you're like, oh shoot, I don't know if I want to live there. So let's talk about it. Let's dive right in. But before we do anything, if you're thinking about making a move here to Florida or South Florida, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. Please call us, text us, email, DM us, whatever's easiest for you. We got you. We're happy to answer any question that we can, but now let's jump right into it. So first up, we have the heat, and you're probably thinking, well, obviously the heat are awesome. Now, I'm not talking about the basketball team, I'm talking about the weather. So yes, the fall, the winters, and the springs are absolutely beautiful. They're gorgeous. They're second to none. Honestly, the only thing that really comes close to us is maybe LA and California because the weather is beautiful. However, the summers here can be brutal. That heat is no joke. You will go out there and be sweating your butt off from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. Even at night, you could be taking your dog out super late at night, let's just call it 10, 11 o'clock, maybe even midnight, and you're gonna sweat your butt off. However, it's not necessarily from the heat, it's from the humidity. It does get super, super humid here. I remember, especially in the summer, like you go out to football practice 3, 4 o'clock, every day in the summer, you can almost guarantee it's gonna rain, and then it's gonna be super humid, hot, and muggy, and it's just miserable. Plus, on top of that, you're just sweating your butt off. You gotta constantly be drinking water. You gotta, like, you'll see the yard guys wearing long sleeve shirts and hoodies out there. Like, what are they doing? Like, how are they doing that? It's just to keep the sun off them because it just beats you up, especially if you're out on the water all day. Like, you gotta be drinking water. You gotta be just, you know, keeping hydrated and just be prepared for it. Now, at the end of the day, is it terrible? No, it's not that bad, but like, you're gonna be sweating, so don't be wearing anything that you wanna sweat through. Be prepared to bring extra deodorant, extra change of clothes. Just kind of think and plan ahead. Be running that AC, having AC or air cooled seats is definitely something in your car that you're gonna want. I know a lot of people don't even think about it because like heated seats and a heated steering wheel is gonna do you no good here. But on the flip side, it's only during the summer. The rest of the year is really, really nice. Plus, a lot of people who do live here in South Florida don't actually come during the summer. They're more so coming during the other months. So it doesn't affect them. But if you are living here year round, it is something to take into account. Your electric bill and your AC is gonna be running and pumping during the summer. Next up, we have the lack of new construction options. Now, don't get me wrong, throughout all of South Florida, Miami all the way up through Palm Beach, we do have a ton of new construction options with townhomes, single family homes, and condos. However, on the townhome and single family side, price point wise, they are a little bit more expensive than other parts of Florida and other parts of the country in general. On top of that, we really don't have a ton. So like when you start looking at like areas, for example, Orlando and Tampa, they have a ton of new construction communities, both townhomes and single family, with numerous homes in these neighborhoods, like hundreds of homes in some of these neighborhoods. While here in South Florida, for the most part, they are smaller neighborhoods. We don't have the land to build, but we also don't have as many communities as they do. So like when you start looking at Orlando and Tampa, you're seeing a ton of new communities. However, they're on the outskirts of the cities. The outskirts of the cities here, there's the Everglades and the ocean, so I don't know where you're gonna build them. So that's kind of the downfall there. However, what we do have that a lot of other areas in Florida don't have are new construction condos. So we have over 80 projects in the works all the way from Miami through north to West Palm. And these are ranging everywhere from studios to super luxurious penthouses, and they are affordable compared to other condos as well. I mean, some of them start in the low 400s, so you can't beat that. And then obviously they do go upwards of tens of millions of dollars, especially the new penthouse that they're building at the building on Fisher Island. It's gonna be the most expensive penthouse once it sells in all of Miami. However, they haven't started building it yet. So that's something to keep in mind. And most of these condos are gonna be going along the beach. They won't have assessments because they'll be brand new, which is a huge plus. Plus they'll have a ton of views and amenities. It's really focusing more towards that lifestyle type atmosphere in these buildings, kind of similar to that of what you would see in apartment rentals. So they really don't want you to have to leave. They want to offer all the amenities there in the building for you, and then you really only have to leave if you're going out to work, maybe the grocery store, things like that, but you can still get everything delivered. So I think that's a really cool aspect of it. Now, don't get me wrong, we still have single family homes and townhomes that are new or newer construction that aren't necessarily neighborhoods too, and that's another option for you. But if you're looking for something resort style in those master plan communities, that isn't something new construction wise that we do have a ton of. There are being some that are built out in Boca, mostly in Palm Beach County. There's a couple in Broward County, and then south in Miami, more towards that Homestead area as well. Next, we have the congestion. And I know everyone's thinking like, well, obviously there's traffic in South Florida. Well, yes, we do have traffic. So that's part of this conundrum for us. So in terms of congestion and the traffic, obviously in Miami, getting around is a freaking nightmare. You go anywhere from like 7 a.m. to about 9 a.m. Good luck, you're gonna be sitting in traffic. Same thing in the afternoon, anywhere from about 4 p.m. to about 6:30, you're gonna be sitting in traffic. You're looking at the map, the whole thing's gonna be red. And then when you work your way a little bit further north into both Broward County and Palm Beach County, there's still traffic on 95 Turnpike and 75. However, a lot of the traffic that you'll see in Broward and Palm Beach County is east and west traffic. So in the morning, everyone's going east. In the afternoon, everyone's going west. So that is something to keep in mind. It's brutal. Plus you do have all the tourists and the snowbird traffic as well during those certain seasons. However, it's not terrible. On top of that, with congestion, that means that everything is constantly packed. So you're going out to get something to eat, shopping, you're just going to run some errands. Everything is usually very, very busy. You can't just show up on like a Wednesday night to a nice restaurant and expect to be seated right away most of the time. However, sometimes it does happen, but you're gonna be having to wait. You're gonna be waiting in lines, going to the mall. Think about when you go to like the Aventura Mall, the Sawgrass Mills Mall, Boca Town Center, Palm Beach Gardens, the Dolphin Mall. The lines for some of these stores to check out and even to get in is ridiculous. So that is just something to keep in mind. If you don't like a ton of people, South Florida is definitely not the spot for you. Are there some more remote type areas? Yes. However, I mean, most of your main areas do get pretty congested and they do get pretty filled up. Even the gyms, like the gym pretty much anywhere is gonna be packed at 5 p.m. But some of the gyms here, there's 6, 7 people waiting at my LA Fitness to use a bench. That is ridiculous. I can't do that. That's, you know, that's not good for anyone working out. You can't get a pump, you can't do anything. But like I said, you could build a home gym. There's other options. Overall though, it's not terrible. It's just figuring out your schedule and getting used to all the people. Next up, you hate the water. So obviously living in South Florida, being on the water or being near the water is obviously a huge part of life. Is there things to do out west? Yes, by all means. I mean, there's plenty of just normal suburban type life out west compared to out east. But if you live out east in South Florida, which is what a lot of people think of when they think of South Florida, they think of Palm Beach, Boca, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Brickell, all that. That's all on the water. So you don't have to own a boat. You can go rent one, you can go down to Buddies, you can go kayaking, paddleboarding, but it is something fun to do and something that obviously doesn't cost a ton of money sometimes, depending on how you do it. And then you have the beach as well. So if you don't like the beach or going out and being on the water, getting the salt air, that is something that a lot of people really enjoy and really embrace down here living in South Florida. Whether you want to go to the beach and actually be on the sand, or you just want to work out along the beach, go for a walk, a bike ride, a run, anything you want to do to get out of the house, being in South Florida, outdoor lifestyle is a huge way of life. Not to say that you can't do other things, but it is something that you have to really take into account because that's what a lot of people are going to want to do. We don't have a ton of theme parks and things down here in South Florida. That's just not what South Florida is known for. It's known for that outdoor lifestyle. However, we aren't too far from both Tampa and Orlando if you do want to go to the theme parks and a little bit of different things. On top of that, we do have a great food scene, art scene. I mean, there's a ton of stuff to do. Being on the water isn't really the only thing, but it is one of the main things. And last but certainly not least is the hustle and bustle. Now, granted, I know the hustle and bustle and the energy down here in South Florida isn't anything compared to cities like New York and maybe Chicago. I haven't been to Chicago, so I can't say anything about that one, but I do know the hustle and bustle of New York. However, there is a ton of energy and there's always something to do down here, whether you're in Miami, you're out west in like Doral, you're north into Fort Lauderdale, you're west into Coral Springs, Boca, Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm. There's something to do for everyone and anyone, whether you're a family, a single, a young professional, like there is always something to do, which is really, really nice. And one of the things I absolutely love about living here in South Florida, like you could wake up 7 a.m. and go to a beachfront yoga class, and then there's something to do in the afternoon. Then you can go out at night. And then there's people who go out at like, they don't leave the house till like 2 a.m. and then they're out for 24 hours at a 24-hour club. Like, I don't know how they do that, but it's still something. If that's your style and that's your thing, you can go and do it. But if you want to go shopping like late at night, you could do that too. Granted, now things have kind of changed since, you know, everything that happened with the pandemic, and some things close early, but for the most part, a lot of things still are open pretty late for the, like, in generality, compared to other areas of Florida where things do close like 8, 9 o'clock. I don't know how they get anything done. Here, things are open later, which is really, really nice. But let me know in the comments, what do you think is the absolute worst thing about living here in South Florida? Or is South Florida just perfect? There's nothing wrong with it. And obviously everything's got something wrong with it. There's always the pros and cons. But if you or anyone you know are looking to move to South Florida or Florida in general, we'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. Please call us, text us, or email us.